The quiet melody. My name is Claire. I am 31 years old. I have been married to Ethan for 6 years. He is 33. He is my husband. Ethan is a calm man. He has gentle eyes and a quiet voice. He never shouts. He never curses. He never leaves the room when we argue. He listens. He listens even when I am angry. He listens even when I say things I don't mean. And when I cry, he doesn't say, "Stop crying." He says softly, "I'm here, Claire. Take your time." Ethan teaches music at a small local school. He loves his students. He teaches them how to listen, not just to notes, but to feelings. He comes home with chalk dust on his sleeves and a smile on his face. He tells me stories about the kids, how one boy finally learned his favorite song, how one girl sang with confidence for the first time. Every story he tells ends with, "I'm proud of them." I work in a marketing firm. I have a big office, a busy schedule, and an even busier mind. My phone never stops buzzing. Emails, deadlines, meetings. Every day feels like a race, and I'm always running. At first, Ethan and I balanced each other. He was calm, I was driven. He slowed me down. I pushed him forward. We were good together. But as years passed, I started to change. Or maybe I forgot what mattered. I started comparing. My co-workers bought new cars, new phones, new vacations. Their husbands had startups, investments, promotions. And Ethan still taught music, still came home with tired eyes and quiet hands. He never complained. He never said he wanted more. But inside, I did. One night, I looked at him across the dinner table. He was wearing the same watch he'd worn for 5 years. The strap was scratched. The face was cracked. And yet, he still looked content. I said, "Ethan, don't you ever want more?" He looked up. "More? More than this. A better job, a bigger house, something different." He smiled gently. "I have everything I want." I frowned. "That's not what I mean." He didn't argue. He just nodded and said, "I know." And that silence made me angrier than any fight could. Weeks passed. I began to pull away. I stayed later at work. I said I was busy, but I was just avoiding home. I wanted something to fill the emptiness I didn't understand. Ethan still waited for me every evening. He cooked, he cleaned. He left little notes in my lunchbox that said, "Have a good day, love." But I stopped noticing. Or maybe I just stopped caring. One Friday night, I came home late. It was almost midnight. Ethan was sitting on the couch, half asleep, a book in his hands. When he saw me, He smiled. "You're home." "Yeah," I said flatly. "Don't wait up next time." He closed the book quietly. "I like waiting." I went straight to bed. He stayed in the living room, playing the piano softly. The melody was slow, gentle, like a whisper. But I didn't listen. Months passed like that. We spoke less. We laughed less. We lived together. But it felt like two strangers sharing a house. One day, my colleague invited us to a dinner party. I didn't want to go with Ethan. I thought, he's too quiet. He won't fit in. But he wanted to be with me, so he came. At the dinner, everyone talked loudly about profits, vacations, cars. Ethan sat beside me, smiling politely, saying little. When someone asked, "What do you do?" he answered, "I teach music." They nodded and turned away. I felt embarrassed. I smiled to hide it, but inside I felt small. Later that night, in the car, I said coldly, "You could have talked more. You made me look bad." He looked at me, surprised. "I didn't know I had to perform. I just wish you tried to fit in sometimes." He nodded slowly. "I'll try next time." He didn't get angry. He never did. And somehow, that made me feel worse. A week later, I came home to find a small wrapped box on the table. Inside was a simple necklace, silver, shaped like a tiny music note. He said, "It reminded me of you." I looked at it. It wasn't expensive. It wasn't flashy. I smiled politely and said, "Thanks." Then I put it in a drawer and forgot about it. That night, Ethan stayed up late again, playing piano. I heard him whisper, "Maybe she'll listen someday." One evening, after another long day, I came home early for once. The house was quiet. I called out, "Ethan?" No answer. His piano was open. A sheet of music sat on it, handwritten. At the top, it said, "The Waiting Hour." It was his song. I sat down and played a few notes. The melody was soft and full of ache. It sounded like loneliness. It sounded like love that waited too long. Tears filled my eyes. A few minutes later, Ethan came in. He looked surprised. "You're home early." "I listened to your song," I said. He smiled faintly. "Do you like it?" "It's beautiful," I whispered. "It's sad." He nodded. "I guess it is." Then I asked, "Who did you write it for?" He said quietly, "For you." I broke down crying. All the nights he waited. All the times he smiled when I hurt him. All the moments I didn't see him. He held me gently. "It's okay, Claire. I just wanted you to hear it once. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat beside him and watched him rest. His hands looked tired. His face looked peaceful. And I realized he never stopped loving me, even when I stopped seeing him. The next morning, I took the necklace out of the drawer. I wore it to work. When my colleagues asked about it, I said, "My husband gave it to me." For the first time, I said it proudly. That evening, I came home early again. I made dinner. I waited for him. When he walked in, he looked surprised. "Everything okay?" he asked. I smiled. "Yes, I just wanted to eat together." He sat down and we talked about his students, about my work, about nothing and everything. We laughed again. After dinner, he played the waiting hour on the piano. But this time, the melody sounded different. Softer, warmer, hopeful. Months later, Ethan's school held a concert. He invited me to come. I sat in the front row. The children played beautifully. And then Ethan came on stage. He said, "This last piece is special. It's called Homecoming. I wrote it for my wife." When he played, I cried quietly, because I understood every note. It was forgiveness. It was love. It was the sound of someone who never gave up. Now, every morning, Ethan makes coffee. He still hums softly. I still rush sometimes, but I stop more often now. I listen. I say, "Play something for me." And he smiles, always. I used to think love had to be loud, big gestures, fancy gifts, shining moments. But now I know. Real love is quiet. It's steady. It waits when you drift away. And when you finally return, it's still there, playing softly in the dark, like a melody that never stopped. If you felt this story in your heart, remember this. Some people don't love with words. They love with patience. They love with time. They love with presence. And that kind of love never fades.